Finn accidentally knocks a model figure off the table. A heavy crash suddenly echoes from outside the shop. He steps out to see what happened. The sight outside stops him cold. His friend Henry has collapsed on the sidewalk. Henry's death comes without warning. In an instant, Finn's quiet routine is gone. On his way to Henry's funeral, strangers mock Finn as he walks through the city. Before his death, Henry ran a small model train shop called Golden Spike. Every Saturday night, he and Finn met other rail enthusiasts at the store. They spent the evenings watching footage of passing trains. Henry was Finn's closest friend and only real companion. He never treated Finn like a curiosity. With Henry, Finn's passion mattered more than his appearance. After Henry's death, Finn learns that Henry left him roughly half an acre and an abandoned depot in Newfoundland, New Jersey. The estate lawyer also explains, the model train shop must close within 6 weeks. With both Henry and the store gone, Finn decides to leave. The inherited property is remote and nearly forgotten, but to Finn, it sounds like the refuge Finn has been looking for. It is far from strangers who stare at him, and far from the noise of the city. Finn leaves Hoboken and his old life behind. He sets out for rural Newfoundland, following the railroad away from the city. He crosses bridges and miles of track. The route grows rougher with every mile, but Finn feels calmer the farther he travels. After a long journey, he finally reaches the property Henry left him. It is not the quiet cabin he imagined, but an abandoned depot beside an active rail line. As a light rain begins to fall, the empty station offers silence, not comfort. Finn unlocks the weathered wooden door. Inside, the old waiting room is dusty and cluttered. The depot has few comforts of a real home. A worn sofa is the only obvious place to sleep. For a moment, Finn considers what living here will mean. The neglected building is rougher than he expected. Then he remembers everything he came here to escape. Its isolation still gives him the peace he wanted. The next morning, Finn wakes on the sofa. He heads into town to buy basic supplies. As soon as he steps outside, he finds a food truck parked beside the depot. He walks over to buy a cup of coffee and ask for directions to the nearest store. The vendor is Joe Oramas, his energetic new neighbor. Joe is curious, but he is curious rather than openly cruel. He eagerly recommends his strong Cuban coffee. Finn, however, has no interest in small talk. Joe hands him the coffee, introduces himself without being asked, and immediately asks Finn's name. Their unlikely friendship begins with that cup of coffee. Finn quickly leaves for town. On the way to the store, a passing car nearly runs him off the road. The distracted driver is a woman named Olivia Harris. She reaches for something and loses control. The vehicle swerves toward the shoulder. Finn watches the car veer straight toward him. With no time to think, he throws himself into the brush beside the road. Olivia jumps out to check on him, then slips in her panic. Once she sees that Finn is not badly hurt, she apologizes repeatedly. Finn does not threaten her or make a scene. He brushes the dirt from his clothes and continues walking toward town. Soon he reaches the local convenience store. The shopkeeper immediately fixates on his height. He watches Finn with invasive curiosity. While Finn shops, the man secretly reaches for a camera and photographs him without permission. Finn notices, but years of this treatment have taught him not to react. He brings his purchases to the counter. At the same time, Olivia stops at Joe's truck for coffee. Joe casually tells her that the man she almost hit now lives in the depot. Olivia realizes that Joe is describing the same man. Embarrassed and ashamed, she tries to leave before facing him again. Her plan fails almost at once. They cross paths again on the road back. Finn is carrying his groceries back toward the depot. When Olivia comes toward him in her car once more, she tries to put down her coffee and tries to focus on the road. Instead, the coffee spills across the seat. Flustered, she swerves across the road. Finn can only stare as the car swerves toward him again. To avoid another collision, he dives into the bushes a second time. Olivia is horrified by what she has done. She cannot believe she nearly hit him twice. She rushes out of the car and tries to explain what happened. Finn refuses her offer to drive him home. After 2 close calls, Finn is not getting into her car. Still, he refuses to turn the incident into a confrontation. He only says he should have stayed home that day. Back at the depot, Finn tries to calm down. Joe soon appears, ready for another conversation. He invites Finn to share a beer. The sudden friendliness makes Finn visibly uncomfortable. He declines and gives Joe no reason to linger. Instead, he walks alone beside the railroad, following the tracks with nowhere particular to go. The silence is exactly what he came here for. No one here whispers about him. and no one makes his body public entertainment. Near the track, he meets a young girl named Cleo. She bluntly asks whether he is a midget. Finn calmly tells her that he is not. Cleo is ignorant of the words harm, not deliberately cruel. Once the awkward question is passed, she quickly turns her attention to the trains. She begins asking Finn about the rail line. He answers cautiously at first. Her curiosity soon centers on what Finn knows, not on making a spectacle of his body. Late that night, Finn is reading inside the depot when someone knocks urgently at the door. He has no friends in town, so the unexpected visitor catches him off guard. Finn slowly opens the door. The visitor is Olivia. Still mortified by both near collisions, she offers a sincere apology for the danger and chaos she caused. She also brings a bottle of bourbon, as both a housewarming gift and an apology. Sensing that the gesture is sincere, Finn invites Olivia inside. They open the bourbon and sit together in the depot. Soon a phone starts ringing. Olivia assumes the ringing phone belongs to Finn. She tells him he should answer it. Finn explains that he came here to get away from the constant demands of other people. He does not keep a working phone at the depot. Olivia realizes the ringing is coming from her own phone. The caller is David, Olivia's estranged husband. She chooses not to answer. Instead, she searches for another subject. She learns that Finn has just lost Henry and moved after losing his only close friend. Then Olivia reveals the grief she has been carrying. Her son Sam died in an accident 2 years earlier. Since then, grief has shaped every part of her life. The wound is still painfully open. Finn begins to recognize that Olivia also came here to escape other people's gaze. Neither wants to be reduced to one loss or one trait. After drinking too much, Olivia falls asleep on the sofa. Finn gives her the sofa and sleeps in the bathtub. The next morning, Olivia wakes in the unfamiliar depot. Embarrassed by the situation, she slips away before Finn can say anything. Joe notices her leaving. He cheerfully calls out a greeting, making Olivia even more uncomfortable. As her car disappears, Joe cannot hide his surprise. He has worked there for a month, and barely managed to exchange a word with Olivia, yet she spends her first night nearby in Finn's depot. Joe becomes even more fascinated by his quiet neighbor. He carries a hot coffee to the depot, and eagerly asks what happened the night before. It is obvious Joe has completely misunderstood the situation. Then a phone begins ringing inside the room. Finn realizes Olivia must have left it behind. The ringing comes from beneath the sofa. Joe reaches it first, and triumphantly picks it up. He hands it to a speechless Finn, before settling onto the sofa, like an audience waiting for the next scene. Nothing Finn says can undo the story Joe has already invented. A customer arrives at the food truck, forcing Joe to return to work. Before leaving, he reminds Finn that next time Olivia comes over, Finn should invite him too. Few people have ever tried this hard to befriend Finn. Joe's earnestness reveals a kindness Finn is not yet ready to trust. Finn straightens the depot and walks to Olivia's house. He leaves it on a bench beside her door. He does not want to intrude, so he leaves without knocking. Olivia is inside painting, and never notices him outside. Only later does Olivia notice that Finn quietly returned her phone. Afterward, Finn visits the local library. Emily, the librarian, is briefly startled to see him. Her reaction is awkward, but not malicious. She quickly regains her composure, and quickly treats him like any other patron. Finn asks to borrow a book. Emily explains that he needs a library card. He has only just moved into the depot, but he has no ordinary proof of address. She asks where he is living, and Finn lists the old depot as his home. Emily helps him complete the application. Her manner is warm and uncomplicated. She even tells him he has a nice chin. The unexpected compliment leaves him speechless. He is not used to casual interest. That does not make his height the entire conversation. Finn leaves with the book he wanted. Back at the depot, Joe immediately notices the change in his mood. Finn says almost nothing about Emily, which only gives Joe more material to tease him about. Still determined to befriend Finn, Joe once again invites him out for a beer. Once again, Finn refuses. Finn does not actually enjoy loneliness. Isolation simply protects him from rejection and from becoming entertainment for strangers. Even with a well-meaning child like Cleo, his first instinct is to guard his boundaries. Cleo is young and sometimes blunt, but she slowly begins to understand that Finn is an adult whose knowledge she genuinely admires. Finn remains determined to keep to himself, while Joe remains equally determined to befriend him. Every morning, Joe calls out to wake him. Every afternoon, he announces that he is closing the truck. When customers mock Finn at the truck, Joe tells them to stop. The gesture is simple, but sincere. Too many people treat Finn's body as public property, something to examine, question, or ridicule. Joe is beginning to understand why Finn keeps his distance. For Finn, trust has rarely felt safe. When Finn sits alone watching trains, Joe joins him and tries to follow the rail guide, but silence does not come naturally to Joe. Within minutes, he is fidgeting and talking again. On the walk back, he follows Finn, filling the air with questions. Finn answers only when he has something worth saying. As they walk, they spot Olivia leaving the grocery store. Joe asks her to give them a ride home. Olivia tries to invent an excuse, but when she sees Finn beside him, she reluctantly agrees to drive them back. To thank her, Joe immediately invites Olivia to stay for dinner at the depot. He promises to do all the cooking himself. Before long, he is cooking a full meal for all three. Finn admits he would love to own a movie camera and film trains for himself. He lacks both the equipment and a driver willing to keep pace with the train. Joe says he only wants his father to recover. Almost as soon as he says it, his phone begins to ring. His father needs help with his medication. Because the older man is ill, Joe has to leave at once. Finn and Olivia are left alone with the meal. They sit across from each other in awkward silence. Olivia finally compliments the food, just to break the silence. From that evening on, Finn is no longer entirely alone. Whenever he walks the railroad, Joe follows like an enthusiastic shadow. They become an unlikely pair along the track. On days when Finn does not want to wander far, they sit beside the food truck together. For Finn, a coffee and a book would be enough. Joe, however, can rarely resist filling the silence. Gradually, Joe learns that silence can be companionship. Their days settle into an easy rhythm. Then Olivia surprises Finn with a movie camera. She wants him to film the trains he loves. With Joe driving on a nearby road, Finn finally makes his own train-chasing film. From the passenger seat, he films a freight train, roaring beside them, until it vanishes down the line. For once, Finn lets himself enjoy the moment completely. Like every good moment, it ends too soon. Life soon returns to its quiet routine, walking, reading, and waiting for trains. The difference is that Joe now shares the routine, and Olivia begins joining them. The three slowly find a rhythm together. They walk along the railroad right-of-way, taking in the countryside around them. When they tire, they sit beside the line, share the food Finn has packed, and talk about their hopes and their past. Time with people who ask little of him begins to feel unexpectedly comfortable. They spend the afternoon with no need to fill every silence. One day, they sit outside Finn's depot and talk. Nearby, children play beside Joe's truck. The sight reminds Olivia of her son, Sam. Grief rises without warning. Her expression changes instantly. Trying not to burden the others, she forces a smile and walks away. Finn notices the pain beneath her composure. He knows something has shifted, but cannot find words that would help. Empty advice about moving on means nothing to a mother grieving her child, so Finn offers no hollow consolation. Later, Finn and Joe visit Olivia, and simply keep her company. Together they watch the train footage they made. Olivia's home is beautiful, quiet, and isolated. She moved there partly to escape the pity that followed Sam's death. She welcomes both men inside. Joe starts commenting on one of her paintings, and Olivia jokingly tells him to be quiet. As usual, Joe takes over the cooking. Finn and Olivia sit near the water and talk. When she asks why he moved to the depot, the usually serious Finn answers with a dry joke. His unexpected humor brings Olivia a rare, genuine smile. By sunset, Joe has dinner ready. The three gather around her table. For once, the evening feels warm and uncomplicated. Within their unlikely group, Joe remains Finn's relentless shadow, and the one most likely to make everyone laugh. After dinner, they gather in the living room and watch the train footage together. No one pretends the footage is boring. Even Joe watches with complete attention. Eventually, the evening turns into an overnight stay. Olivia asks Finn about his romantic life. It is a subject he rarely discusses. Years of prejudice have made intimacy difficult. Stares, invasive questions, and cruel jokes have taught him to expect humiliation instead of affection. Olivia begins to understand the pain behind his silence. Joe has already fallen asleep nearby. Finn considers waking him so they can leave, but Olivia invites both men to stay. She gives Finn a room for the night, and brings him a glass of water. She then describes the accident that killed Sam. Her voice stays controlled as her eyes fill with tears. Before saying goodnight, Olivia gives Finn a gentle kiss goodnight. The gesture is affectionate, but deliberately ambiguous, not the beginning of a conventional romance. Early the next morning, David, Olivia's estranged husband, arrives unexpectedly. The knocking wakes Finn upstairs. He hurries down to see who is there, and finds himself face to face with David. Both men are caught off guard. Joe then wanders out from the kitchen. David is uneasy to find two men inside the house. Joe's relaxed manner only makes the moment more awkward. No one knows how to explain the scene. Olivia comes downstairs next. She is visibly shaken to see David. The warmth of the previous evening vanishes. She asks Finn and Joe to give them privacy. David came because Olivia stopped answering his calls. Their separation is still unresolved. He has serious news to discuss with her. Finn and Joe realize it is time to leave. They quietly step out of the house. The warmth of the previous night disappears with them. A few days later, Cleo knocks on Finn's door and hands him an invitation from her class. She wants him to speak about trains at school. Her teacher has already approved the visit. Finn immediately recoils from facing a room of children. He fears being treated as an exhibit, instead of being heard for what he knows. He firmly refuses Cleo's request. Since David's visit, Olivia stops visiting the depot. Finn spends the next few days with Joe, reading and walking beside the tracks. One day, Finn returns to the library. While Emily helps him check out another book, she flirts with him openly but respectfully. Finn later tells Joe very little, which naturally invites endless teasing. As they sit beside the road, they see Olivia's car pass. She does not stop or wave. Instead, she speeds away. Neither man understands why she is avoiding them. Then Joe gets a call about his father and has to leave. Before going, he invites Finn to meet him at the mill that night. To Joe's surprise, Finn agrees. Later, Finn stops at the convenience store. He overhears the shopkeeper talking to Olivia by phone. She is asking for groceries to be delivered. Finn volunteers to deliver the groceries himself. When he arrives at Olivia's door, Olivia seems like a different person. She treats him like a stranger and refuses to talk. Finn accepts the payment and leaves. He cannot understand her sudden withdrawal, but he knows something serious has changed. David's visit is the only explanation he can imagine. As evening falls, Finn goes to the bar to meet Joe. The moment he enters, several customers turn and stare at him. Finn tries to ignore them. He has endured that attention his entire life. He waits, but Joe never appears. Just as Finn prepares to leave, he notices Emily sitting alone. She is also waiting for someone. Apparently, both of them have been stood up. They decide to sit together. Emily quietly tells Finn that she is pregnant. She has not told Chris yet. She came to the bar because she planned to tell him about the baby, but Chris never arrived. Finn can hear the fear in her voice, and unsure how Chris will respond, he listens without pretending to know the answer. When they finally leave the bar, they find Chris waiting outside. Emily wants to leave, but Chris refuses to let her walk away. The argument quickly turns threatening. Chris grabs Emily as she tries to pull away. Finn tells him to let her go. Chris responds with a degrading insult and shoves Finn to the ground. Chris uses his size to intimidate him. While everyone nearby stands and watches, Finn is humiliated and furious, facing exactly the cruelty he came here to escape. Unable to express everything he is feeling, he walks away in anger and shame. Late that night, he watches trains pass the dark station. The familiar sight offers no comfort. Years of ridicule and exclusion seem to close around him again. The darkness feels almost solid. The next day, Finn tears into the depot's worn seat. He rips at the old furniture, trying to release anger he cannot express. Joe enters carrying coffee. Joe is ashamed that he missed their meeting, and immediately apologizes. A medical crisis with his father kept him away. Finn acts as if he hears nothing. He refuses to look at Joe, and keeps pulling the seats apart. Joe expected Finn to understand, but Finn orders him out. After that, the food truck disappears from the depot. Finn returns to the solitude he once wanted. He walks alone, sits alone, and watches train films alone. His days become quiet and predictable again, but now the silence feels like loss. One evening, Emily knocks on the depot door. She has come to apologize for the scene at the bar. Finn is still upset, but he knows Chris' attack was not her fault. Emily admits that everything in her life is unraveling. She has nowhere she feels safe that night. Chris does not want the baby, and the pregnancy has triggered a crisis at home. She feels frightened and alone. Before asking to stay, she and Finn share a brief kiss. She then asks whether she can sleep at the depot. Emily makes it clear that she only wants to sleep. Finn agrees to let her stay. The night is intimate, but not sexual. For once, neither has to spend the night alone. The next morning, Finn sees Emily off with a smile. Cleo is sitting outside the depot, and sees Emily leaving with Finn. She teasingly asks whether Emily is his girlfriend. The question makes Finn think about everyone he pushed away. He realizes hiding cannot protect him from loss. He walks to Olivia's house, determined to learn whether she is all right. Olivia has barely left the house for days. Eventually, Finn sees her on the porch. She looks exhausted and emotionally shattered. She is arguing with David on the phone. Finn approaches because he is worried. Olivia angrily orders him to leave. She is ashamed, furious, and unable to accept help. Her cruelty comes from a crisis Finn cannot yet see. Even so, the rejection cuts deeply. He goes to the bar and drinks heavily. Alcohol magnifies his anger and despair. The people around him continue to stare. Their attention becomes unbearable. Every insult he has swallowed over the years seems to return at once. Finn has spent his life pretending prejudice does not hurt. This time, he refuses to stay silent. He smashes his glass and climbs onto a chair to confront the room. He demands to know why everyone is staring. Their gaze has always made him feel less than human. Then he storms out. Still drunk, Finn wanders toward the railroad. Pain, anger, and humiliation leave him barely aware of where he is. He staggers along the line in a dangerous state. As he struggles to keep his balance, he collapses beside the rail. A freight train is closing in fast. Too intoxicated and despondent to react, Finn remains in grave danger as it approaches. There is nothing brave or peaceful about the moment. It is the lowest point of his isolation. Birdsong wakes Finn the following morning. He is stunned to find himself alive. For a moment, he thinks the night may have been a dream. Then he finds his pocket watch crushed beside the track. It shows how close he came to dying. Survival does not erase his pain, but it forces him to face what happened. Finn knows he cannot keep living this way. He returns to Olivia's house. The once orderly house is now in chaos. Olivia lies weak and collapsed on the kitchen floor. Finn rushes to help her. She cannot stand without support. Olivia clings to him and finally breaks down. She reveals the news that shattered her. David is expecting a baby with another woman. To Olivia, it feels as if David has moved beyond Sam, while she remains trapped in the day their son died. The news ends her last hope of restoring their old life. Finn finally understands the depth of her despair. He does not pretend that words can fix it. He makes sure Olivia receives emergency care, and cleans the house while she recovers. While clearing the table, he discovers the phone number Joe left after their earlier dinner. Determined to repair the friendship, Finn gathers the courage to call. Joe accepts the apology without making him beg. Their friendship is restored, and both men value it more clearly now. They sit quietly together, and wait for Olivia to return from treatment. Before long, the three friends are together again. They return to ordinary moments, quiet meals, long silences, and small jokes. Joe and Finn begin filming trains again. They walk beside the railroad, share a drink at night, and offer warmth without demanding explanations. The railroad becomes more than steel in the distance. Its path remains steady and fixed, unchanged by every train that passes over it. The trains, by contrast, are temporary, brief shapes crossing the horizon, and leaving only smoke behind. A single gust can erase that smoke in seconds, but the path Finn, Joe, and Olivia now share is measured in footsteps taken together, in quiet conversations, and in memories carried through lonely nights. Those small moments slowly become happiness. They begin to fill the empty spaces in their lives. Through a friendship that asks for nothing grand, each becomes less willing to hide from life. Together, they find the strength to face what remains. After grief, rejection, and fear, the three friends finally begin a new journey together.